Hey, welcome back everybody. We are here putting together the Prusa i3 Mark III. We've made pretty good progress. We've got the extruder put together last time, and now we will be doing, let's see, what is it? Step 6, which is the LCD. So I'm on, step 2, make sure all the parts are here. I need, let's see. Windows had a notification. Let me close that out. I need the LCD cover, which is in this bag. We'll go ahead and pull all this out. So this is the front cover. And the supports. So there's the left and right support and the knob. And there, those are all 3D printed. And then here's the LCD. Comes in bubble wrap and then a nice anti-static bag. And then there's a few fasteners in there. So let's dump these fasteners out. Okay, we'll open up this anti-static bag, find the LCD. Okay, so let's see, we've got the cover, we have the knob, the supports, the screen, the screws, the nuts, and the SD card. Hopefully there's an SD card hiding out somewhere because I do not see it. Okay, it's bundled in the wires. So if you can't find your SD card, let's move this out of the way so you guys can see. It's actually bundled up in the ribbon cable here. Okay. So they give you an 8 GB. It says it's good RAM, so it must be good. So an 8 GB SD card. Okay, on to step 3. We need to check the cables. So I'm going to go ahead and unwrap these. I think I'll move the printer frame off to the side until we're ready for it. So we'll unwrap the ribbon cable. They need to be plugged into the correct order. So you have EXP1, and then EPX2. Okay, so one of these ribbon cables has 2 dotted lines on the end, and that goes on the right. So there's one with, oh, the white balance is out and the focus is off, but there's 2 dotted lines on this one and 1 dotted line on this one. The 1 dotted line goes on the left, the 2 dotted line goes on the right. Now we need to assemble it. We need the support prepare. It says slide it right in. Let's see, which one do we need? We need the one without the shelf. And so we orient it with the 2 nut slots facing inward. And it goes on like this. It just slides right in. I don't know how far, it doesn't say exactly. Okay, the exact position will be adjusted later. No need to worry at this moment. Okay, I think I have that backwards. Okay, so they need to be oriented. The cables need to be oriented up and away. No, I had it right. I had it right. I second guessed myself. Okay. So this one goes on this side, and then the SD card slot, I'll go ahead and remove the SD card. It goes on like this. And of course there's clearance for the SD card slot. Good, got it. And then we need to assemble the LCD cover. So press the LCD controller with the LCD support into the LCD cover as shown in the picture. Here, so this is the cover, and we'll turn it face down like that. And it looks like there's some little snaps here in the top, and we line everything up, and these guys, there's some slots, internal slots here, and you have to line them up with those slots. Okay, so the whole thing looks like it just kind of snaps into place. I don't think it's all the way in yet. There it goes. So it snaps in there. LCD controller must click under support in the center. Okay, so one final push there. This little tab snapped over the red board. Now the supports are kind of locked into place, and everything looks good. So now we need to secure it with some of these screws. So there's two holes in the top corners, and we can secure the board to the holder. So hopefully I can get this done tonight. It's Friday night. That's the actual live time that I'm streaming this, and there's a hangout that I would like to participate in. See what they have to say. It's the Friday 3D printing hangout. Ooh, that makes a fun noise. That just means the threads are a little bit tight. Okay, that looks good to me. There's no need to over tighten. And then we put the nuts, the square nuts, right here and right here. And they just slide right into place. And then you can use a tiny Allen wrench to poke in there and make sure that they're lined up. So these just slide right in with no resistance. The hot end was printed, I think it had more shrinkage because I had to force some of those guys on the extruder body. I had to force some of those in place. So now I'm ready to attach it to the frame. It says make sure that if you have not put on the anti-vibration feet, the front part of the printer will be resting on the LCD mount. You should apply the feet to avoid damage to the LCD holder. Okay, so I'm going to move this out of the way and bring the printer back. And I apologize. Well, I guess I could turn it sideways because you guys aren't really going to be able to see what I'm doing if I turn it that way. Okay. You should be able to see what I'm doing now. Alrighty. So I've located, there's two sets of holes on the front of the frame. I need to put in the M3 by 10 screws through the back like this. It says to do all 4 of them, so 2 on either side. There we go. Check. And then this just mounts right to the front. It says to route the cables out the front of the holder for now, and then tighten all 4 screws. Well, mine's a little bit tight. I think when I put the supports in place, I probably didn't get them exactly right, but I'm sure they'll snap into place. I'm just a hair off. I'm going to push the carriage all the way to the rear so I can get in there and work. So it's been a long week this week. It's the last week of school before finals, and everybody's ready to get out. And we've got a robotics meet tomorrow, so we're excited about that. It's our second league meet, and this year we've been doing quite a bit of 3D printing, which is good. I've got a couple of students that have designed a few parts for the robot, so that's always fun to integrate robotics and 3D printing. Okay, my iPad just told me that Carter Wilson is watching, so welcome. I don't have the chat pulled up, so if you're trying to ask me any questions, I'm sorry I can't see it. I haven't figured out how to do that, so if you know how you can use OBS and live stream at the same time, please let me know. Maybe I'll need another device. Maybe I could pull it up on the iPad. If I wasn't using the iPad for my Prusa instructions, I would have it pulled up on there. So I've got this mounted. All 4 screws are tightened. Now I need to assemble the knob. So you just simply press it in place. It looks pretty straightforward, except it's quite a bit of resistance here. Okay, there it goes. I got it. Good. Alright, and I think this cover is a little bit loose, so I think that I'm going to turn it over and try to tighten it up just a tad. Lift it up like this, and rest it on the back end, and then look up underneath and try to tighten these screws just a hair more so the cover's not wobbling around. And that's a terrible noise, so close your ears for a little bit. Just a little bit more. Okay, good. That's moderately better. Okay, the LCD is done. That was fast. That was much faster than the extruder was last night. Everything looks good. Let's go ahead and move on to the heat bed and the PSU assembly. We'll give the author plus 30 points. You can slide the SD card in. However, it's recommended to wait till the printer is completed. So we'll do that just to make sure, for whatever reason, it doesn't short out. It says I can remove the protective foil from the LCD. That always makes me nervous. It is fun to do if you can get it filled up, but I can't ever get it started. So I don't know if it'll hurt. I think I'm just going to leave it on there for now. so I don't accidentally scratch the LCD. Okay, now on to the heat bed and power supply. This is process number 7. I will need the heat bed, spiral wrap. It says use the bigger spiral wrap, so I'll go ahead and pull that over here. Get rid of the static bag. M3 nut, M3 by 10, the cable cover, and the nylon filament, so I can pull that over too. So that's the only remaining nylon filament piece. And I'll move this steel sheet out of the way. We'll get the power supply unit over here. Okay, we're running out of parts. When I first took this, when I unboxed it, I had a whole table full of parts and little baggies, and we're almost done. Put that in there. Go ahead and dump these guys out. Okay. It looks like I have 3 spool holders. This looks like the new spool holder, which is really nice design. And then I have 2 of the old ones. 2 sets of the old ones, so maybe those are for something else. I'm not sure. Maybe they were just trying to get rid of them. Let's see. Okay, that's the cable cover right here. So we've got that part, and then the heated bed is in bubble wrap. So let's go ahead and unwrap that. Okay, the first thing I notice is lots of neodymium magnets, little square magnets on here. And it says strong magnetic field, no pacemakers, metallic implants, or neurostimulators. Okay, so this is serious business here. And there's the thermistor wires, and then the heat bed wires, and the capped on tape where the thermistor is attached. I assume this is capped on, some sort of heat resistant tape. Okay, first step is that I need to prepare the nylon filament. I need to trim one end and make it sharp. So you can use the supplied needle nose plier cutters, but I've got these little snips that I prefer, so I'm going to go ahead and do that and use these guys. Because they make a lot cleaner, easier cut. So that needs to insert in the wire holder from the back side, and then I can grab it with the needle nose pliers and just apply some gentle pressure. So make sure you don't grab it too far back or it'll buckle. So I pushed on it and I heard it snap, so I know that's in there really good. It says be careful when you're pushing the pliers toward yourself, they could slip and break the part or cut yourself. And it says make sure that the filament is kind of curved up. So I've done that. If you have issues, you can always recut. So I didn't have any issues. Now I'm going to put an M3 nut in, and there's only one in that little baggie. And it looks like there's some slight bridging issues. I know when I print PETG, I do not use the cooling fan because it prohibits strong layer bonding. So if you use the cooling fan, your surface finish will be a lot better, but you sacrifice part strength for aesthetics. So if this part was printed in PETG, I'm sure that they did not use the cooling fan at full speed in favor of part strength. Okay, got that put in on step 5. Now this attaches to the back end of the heat bed, and it attaches to the top side. So I'm going to do this off camera because it's kind of difficult to do everything in place and have the 3D printer. I think I'll just move the whole printer up further into the frame so I can work on my mat. There we go. It's starting to get a little hefty there. It's hard to lift with your arm extended. Oh, there goes an Allen wrench. Okay, found him. So I've got this on the, I'm going to flip this over so it's on the top side. Ooh, and those are some nice solder points. That's soldered on there really well. Okay, and that just snaps down over the top. And then the screw comes in from the bottom side. Do not pinch or break any of the wires from the heat bed. Okay. So I've got it in place from the top side. Now I'm going to kind of gently persuade the heat bed wires to go in. You may have to split them. It's a pair and they're still connected, so you may kind of have to split them up by hand because mine weren't split enough. And then I'll take the back end of my screwdriver and try to push them down into that channel. But I don't want to crush the wire, I just want to get it in there. Okay, and then I use a M3 by 10 socket head cap screw, so not the beveled one. I'll put that in. It's not lined up perfectly. I may need to wiggle it around a bit. Something's not lined up. I can't get it to thread in. Maybe it fell. Well, I had the whole thing upside down. Let me look on the other side. Yeah, I think I kind of pushed it out. I may have to do this while I'm holding it up. There it goes. Okay, now I'm going to lay the whole thing down. Okay, and I'm just barely going to snug that up until I feel resistance. So on to step 6, proper cable management. Do not stretch the black thermistor cable, leave some slack. Okay, it's understandable. So you need to leave plenty of room around this socket head cap screw back here. It needs to go all the way around the edge. And then it says to twist it around the heated bed cables. So I just twist it around like that. And I left some slack. Okay, on to the next step. And then I need to wrap the heat bed cables with the spiral wrap. including the nylon. So start with 1 or 2 centimeters behind the heat bed cover, and then wrap the filament and the heat bed wires and the thermistor wires all together. This one can be tricky because that first little bit likes to curl up on you. But once you get it going, it's fairly easy. Okay, once you get it rolled around a couple times, you push it up towards the heat bed cover. It says to slide it inside the heat bed cover. So that looks like it's going to be a neat trick. Mine looks like it's almost the same size, so I'm not sure how I'm going to get that to work. Okay, I got it. Took a little persuasion, but I got it, and then I continue wrapping the whole rest of the cables. It says do not cut the filament, you will need the full length. And then you zip tie it in place once you're finished with the spiral wrap. There's a channel around the cover designed for the zip tie. So do not over tighten. You might pinch the heat bed wires. And then trim the remaining bits of the zip tie. Okay, here's my zip tie, and it goes away from the center of the bed with the bottom of the bed facing you or facing up. And it just seats right in that channel. Don't over tighten, so I've just got it snug. I'm not going to bear down on it. There we go, easy peasy. I think I've got enough slack on the thermistor wire. Good. Prepare the heat bed screws and spacers. Okay, so there's 9 of these beveled screws and 9 spacers. So there's 6, 7, 8, 9. And then all the spacers, 2, 4, 6, 8, 9. Okay, it's all there. And there's a note, you may come with 12mm screws instead of 14mm screws. So no big deal, either will work. Alright, now I can go ahead and mount the heat bed. Part 1, push the carriage to the front and place the heat bed behind it. And then locate the center hole and then put the spacer over the center. So I'm going to have to reposition the printer, move it back towards me again. And move it all the way, move the carriage all the way up to the front. And place this with the wires coming out the back, just like this. And it snaps into place. And I've covered up all my stuff. I'll just lift it up. So it just goes right there in the middle. And then you stick a small Allen key through the center hole, just like that. and then use it to align everything. So you thread it through, stick it through the spacer if you can get it hooked. And then find the hole. Okay, so I've got everything aligned. I can pull the wrench out and find the appropriate size wrench, and then I can put in the beveled screw, and everything should be aligned. And it says tighten just slightly so that you can still have some wiggle room. And then use your needle nose pliers. It says move to the right side of the heat bed. Place the spacers in with the pliers. Use the same trick with the Allen key, and then put it in slightly. So it looks like the same process. You just grab a spacer with the needle nose pliers and get you a spare wrench. And it looks like I'm going to have to stand up for this because you have to squat down and look at the same time. So I think I'm going to get on my knee, take a knee, so I can have a better vantage point here. Oh, and it's magnetic, so it's going to fight you. The magnets on the bed are going to stick to the pliers. So once you get that Allen key through, then you can kind of move the bed around and get it placed, and then you can leave it until you're ready to screw everything in. And again, I'm just going to barely put that in. And then it says, use the pliers, insert spacers and screws, do not tighten. After all screws are in place, tighten them in the following order. So you tighten the center screw first, then the outside screws, like in a cross, and then the corner screws. Okay, I can do that. So I'm gonna have to move to the other side. I'll be behind the camera for a bit. I'll come back. Hopefully I can reach it. I'll just reach across the table. And hopefully I don't knock over everything. Got it in place. I pierced it with the Allen wrench. Now I can put in the screw. And again, I'm only going to tighten it a little bit. I'm sorry if you can't hear me. I'm behind the camera. Okay, while I'm over there, I'm going to go ahead and do the other two, and I'll be right back. So maybe you can see what I'm doing on camera. Yeah, I think you can see my hands. I'm just taking the spacer, putting it in the Allen wrenches. And I stick the Allen wrench through and align everything. Oops. The magnet grabbed my wrench. I lost my grip. Okay. That side is done. Now I can do the others. I'll go ahead and do the front. It's hard to have any depth perception because you can only really see it with one eye. And so I think I'll have it in there, but then, there it is. But then I'll miss it with the Allen wrench. I think I'm gonna have to push this back. Okay. Almost done. And last one in the back. I'm going to attempt to do this one left-handed. So wish me luck. Oop, dropped it. These spring-loaded wrenches are sometimes tough to deal with. Spring-loaded pliers, I meant. Okay, got it. Okay, all done. Now I'm going to review the tightening procedure. Center one goes first. And then the four corners next. Oh no, the front. Let me loosen that back up. I read it incorrectly. You do the front, middle, and then the back middle. And then the left and right side middle. And then the corners. Okay, I think I got everything. I'm just going to double check and make sure they're all still tight. Okay, good. On to step 15, power supply. So I'll need the 24 volt power supply. And if you've never experienced working with a 12 volt system, the 24 volt is really nice. It allows you to heat up the bed a lot faster than 12 volt, so you're not just waiting around for your printer to preheat. I've experienced that on my FT5. The 12 volt system is, it takes a while if you want to preheat for, you know, up to 90 degrees on a 12 by 12 PCB. Then you need, let's see, M4 by 10, dome head. Those might be in a different bag because I don't see them immediately. I may have to look in the spares kit for that. I don't see them right off the bat. Let me look at the parts list. It says 2 came in there. I just don't. Oh, there they are. Okay. They were hiding in plain sight. I got them. So 2 of these and 2 of these. And then we're going to put it over here where we place these T-nuts at the very beginning, and then we're going to use these 2 holes as well. So place it in with the switch and the power socket facing away, so facing the outside. Oops, I accidentally picked up my mic there, sorry about that. And then it says the T-nut should be kind of spaced out evenly. I'm going to push the bed all the way up to the front. And then I'm going to put in the panhead screws, go in through the frame. And don't tighten these yet. We're just getting it held in place. So I'm just going to put these in finger tight. There we go. I got these put in. And then now I need to slide the T-slot nuts up underneath the 3D printed bracket. So I'm going to use my Allen wrench to line up the nuts. So I think it's better to do them one at a time. So I'm going to line up the right one and get that one started. Okay, it's in. Now I'm going to get the left one. Okay, got them both threaded in there. Okay, good. Let me go around and check. I'll be right back. Okay, they're both put in there. Don't tighten completely. You want to be able to move the power supply unit on the mount to properly line up the other mount. So it's still kind of loose. And now once everything's threaded in, I can tighten up all four. So I'll get these first, because that's going to draw it closer to the frame. There we go. And then I'll get the other ones. There we go, all tight. Heat bed and PSU are done. Great. Now I'm on to the electronics. So we're flying right along here. Okay, for the electronics, we need the 3D printed enclosure, the Rambo cover door, so this guy, and then there's two hinges in here. And then we need a square nut, which should be somewhere. Oh, it's inside the box. So the box number 8. I was expecting it to be inside of a bag somewhere. So if you can't find it, look in your box first. So we got the square nut and 2 M3 by 10 screws. Check. So I need to insert I need to insert the only square nut inside of the door, and it's aligned because I can see in there. Then I need to identify the mounting holes. So I need to look on this side of the printer. You guys can't really see that. I guess you can see it in this mic. I mean this camera. I'm gonna tilt this one down a little bit and then move it over so you can see what I'm doing right up here. And then I need the lower hinge. M3 by 10 goes through the lower hinge and it's countersunk, so make sure you pay attention to that. And then locate the hole for the lower hinge. So there's quite a few holes here. There's a pattern of 3 that the mounting bracket for the Z extruder is mounted to, and it's just up from that right there. And then put the hinge on right there with the actual hinge facing up. So I'm just going to let it hang loose until I get close to having it tight, and then I'll hold it in place. And I'll leave it loose so that I can adjust it later. And then I place the rainbow door cover on the lower hinge. So let me make sure I'm doing this right. Yep. So this top part, this is the top part, and it goes up. Oops, dropped my square nut. Let me put that back in real quick. Okay, so I placed it on the hinge. And then it says put the top hinge in. So it just slides in, and then you take an M3x10 and thread it into the frame. There it goes. I'm going at an angle, and I definitely do not want to cross thread the frame. So I'm going to take my time on this and get it lined up nice and square. There we go, that's a lot better. And now it's threading in a lot easier. So if you're ever trying to thread in a screw into metal or a bolt into something, and it's giving you resistance, then there's something wrong. You need to wait, take your time, and make sure you're doing it right. Okay, so that's on. This one's still a little bit loose. There we go. Now we need to use our last cable wrap. Wrap it around the X-axis motor cable. So let's find that. Oh, here it is. It's all bundled up. Excuse me. And then it says to leave a little bit at the end of the cable for the connector. So it's really easy just to twist. You just twist the wrap and it kind of threads itself around the cable. To a certain extent. And then at some point you have to start kind of wrapping it by hand. Okay, that's step 7. Okay, step 8. Rambo board, there's different versions. So you need to identify if you have a version A or a version B. So version A has LCD connectors directly on the board, and then version B has a daughter board. Okay, so it looks like I have version B. I don't know if that's a good thing or a bad thing. I'm not sure. I'm sure they're roughly equivalent. The daughter board is pre-assembled. Do not remove it. There's no functional difference between the solutions. The connectors are just shifted. So no difference. So this is the Rambo board. And what they're talking about here are these display connectors. See, this is the original mount, and there's a daughter board here, and they're just shifted over a little bit. So no big deal. So now I find the Rambo board base right here, and then put in 4 M3x10 or M3 nuts into the traps. So let me place the board on my, I'll put it back on the static bag so I don't mess anything up. And then I'll put in the nuts into the nut traps on the back. And some just fall in place, and some take a little persuasion. And then use 4 M3x10 screws, tighten carefully because you can damage the board. So you just need to put them in just enough, not too much. So I'm going to turn this over and let it rest on my, oh, I was going to let it rest on the bed. That's not going to work. I think they're all going to fall out. So maybe if I hold them with my fingers and then just kind of flip the whole thing over and put it, nope. Well, this is going to be tricky. I might have to do the whole thing upside down. Or maybe tape them into place. Maybe if I put them on the wooden surface here. Ooh, bingo, there we go. So the table worked. And now I need to put this in. It looks like the wires come in from my left side, and that's where the USB mount is, so that's a good reference. And I can just line this whole thing up. And it sits down on there real nice. And it takes 4 of the M3x10 screws. So if you have ordered a Prusa and you have a tablet of some sort with pinch zoom, I highly recommend using a tablet to help you put this thing together. It's very easy. Oh, and this is going to be a challenge. You kind of have to trap. Ooh. I lost my screw inside there. Yep. And then I lost 2 of the nuts that were trapped. So we'll get those later. So what I do is I just hold it on with one of my fingers on the edge, and then I line it up. It's kind of hard to explain. There's different methods. Just use whatever works best for you. If you have some tiny little tweezers, maybe you can hold the or position the screw in place and then use that method. But so far this is working pretty well. I recommend maybe just doing one at a time instead of trying to keep all 4 in place, because you might just be chasing your tail at that point. Okay, all 4 is in. They're snug but not tight. So now there's holes on the frame here, used to mount the Rambo base. So I need to insert my last 2 and they go on the bottom one, because there's a series of holes. There's 4 holes, and it says just tighten them slightly. So I'm just going to tighten them by hand, just a few threads so they're not falling out. So it's the 2 holes that are most closest to each other, I think. Yeah, they kind of line up with the oh no, there's one in between them. There is one hole in between them. Yeah, they line up with the screws that are on the other side, the door. So I'm going to give these one extra turn to make sure they're nice and inside there. Okay, now we're on step 12, mounting the Rambo cover base, part 2. We need to plug in the wire from the X-axis motor. So if you position it like this, usually the board will tell you which port is which, but it looks like the connectors, you can just barely see. If you hold the board at an angle towards yourself, you can look underneath the black connector and you can see X motor, Y motor, Z motor, E motor. The E motor is your extruder. So if you're holding it away from you like this, the one furthest to your right is the X motor. And so I'm going to go ahead and plug that in. And there's a snap, and they only go in one way. They're not symmetrical. And you just push it in, and there should be a snap. And when you go to remove it, you have to depress that little clip. It's kind of like an Ethernet cable, the same way that works. You plug it in, there's a snap. To pull it out, you have to depress the little plastic pin. So it says to push the spiral wrap in the slot and leave some slack. I'm not sure what they mean by that. Okay. So it needs to go, oh, it goes through here. So it goes around behind the fuses and leave a little slack. Okay, that snapped into place very nicely. So it goes right behind the 2 5 amp fuses. And then there's 2 slots here, which will slide on to the screws that we just put in. So now we need to go ahead and mount the Rambo board to the frame. So you just slide it on, making sure you don't pinch your X. And so you get it as close as you can to the frame on the top and the bottom. I can, what am I, something's rubbing. I think it's the, yeah. I'm trying to get these to line up, but they don't seem to want to. Line up. Something, oh, I see. Whenever I'm pushing this in, the X is kind of diving underneath the door and making it hard to put this whole thing together. Oh, I didn't screw it in enough. Okay, this is actually hitting the connector. I'm glad I noticed this. So if you're having trouble, tighten the top one in probably until you can see it start to come out the other side of the frame. Maybe not that much. We'll give it a shot. Let me go back to the instructions. And they're not real clear. They don't really give you a side view. And it says insert them slightly, so they don't really say. So it does need to be screwed in more because it was hitting the X connector. There, that's much better. So mine's almost flush, and you just push on it. So my screw's almost flush with the front of the frame, and that worked out a lot better. So that would be a good note to add. And I think my bottom one probably can go in a little bit more. Well, it can go in a lot more. So it looks to be about halfway through the frame. So when you put those in, make sure they're about halfway through the frame. If you look at the front side, good. So you can always tighten the bottom one. The top one looks like it's going to be trapped, and there's no way you can get to it. So I slid that on. Oh, you can use your ball end wrench and reach inside from the back and tighten both screws. Okay, so there's a vent on the back side that you can reach in there and tighten it. Oh, that's pretty clever. Okay. At the very top there is an extra wide vent. Good. And then from this side, you can come in from the bottom and get that one. Good. All right, time for cable management. Oh boy, lots of fun coming up. This is part one. So we're going to manage all the cables in the printer. And they say this is the most efficient way to do it. So we'll see. So turn the printer on the PSU side and start from the bottom to the top. Okay. So I'm going to turn it over this way. Make sure none of my cables get pinched when I'm doing that. Just like that. And now you probably can't see a whole lot. I may try to reposition my camera view. I don't know how I'm gonna let y'all see what I see and be able to see what I'm doing. So maybe I'll just try to describe what I'm doing. So first of all, we have the Z-axis motor. So it's the, if you're looking at the front of the printer, it's the right Z-axis motor. And so you need zip ties. And there's a little hole there on the frame. Let's see how they do it. Oh, okay. So the head is facing the back of the printer. and it goes in through the frame, around the Z, and then back through the frame, which this is illustrated very well in the manual. So I don't think I could do it justice here. It says push the cable gently, zip tie, tighten it so it's snug. Do not over tighten. So we're just trying to keep this thing in place. We're trying to keep the cables in place so they don't get pinched. So it can even be a little bit slack. And then make sure that the wires are out of the way. We're just going to snip them off. Snip the excess zip tie off. And then continue upwards using another zip tie to create a hoop in the middle of the frame. So there's some nice pre-drilled holes in the frame. We're going to use the same procedure. Go in through the frame and then back out. And it creates a nice little loop there. And so we're going to get, I feel like the power supply wires need to be underneath the Y linear rod here. So that's what it looks like in the picture. So we've got the, looks like 2 cables from the power supply and our Z-axis, and there's some other little wire that's white and black coming from the power supply. So all those are going to be bundled up. There's a total of 4 wires coming through, and those go in. So again, these don't need to be ultra tight. We're just getting them snug. I always like to leave a little room in case I ever need to cut these free. I'll leave a little bit of room so I can fit my snips in there later. If it's too tight, you risk end up cutting one of your wires. Continue upwards, create the next loop. So there's another one right in the middle, or just past the middle. So we need the Y-axis motor cable. So we're going to add this to the bundle. So we need the Y-axis now. And so it's going to come across and go through. We'll come over like a 90-degree angle from the Y-axis stepper motor. And we'll leave a little bit of slack in there in that Y-axis cable, just so it's not pulling. So there's a little slack there. And then we'll snip the zip tie and make sure you don't get your cables. Now it's time for the LCD. Gently push them into the aluminum extrusion and leave some slack. Do not stretch the cables too much. Use the whole length of the extrusion. So we're going to pull these in, and they just go under the bottom of the front plate, and they go in the side extrusion slot. They don't go in the bottom. you just put those all the way in. This is going to take a while to get them all bent into place. So I'm just going to sandwich them together. And come over. I think it's best if you get one side in there and then work on the other side. So I'll get the bottom side in, and once you get it started, it's fairly easy. I think if you had like a soft tipped eraser or something like that, maybe something plastic, that could probably help you push these things in. So you want to make sure both sides of the ribbon cable are in there, or else they're going to pop out. Okay, got those put in, and then now let's see, I'm just studying the picture to make sure I've got it right. Because this picture does not look like what I have. That's because I put them in the wrong extrusion. They go on the top side and I put them in the bottom side. Okay. That makes more sense. Okay, easy enough to pull those out very gently. You just kind of curl them. And then I think it'd be easier to sit down and do the rest, because you have to look up. So the same process, you just kind of sandwich them together. Let me get my chair situated here. Okay. Push them right in there. Yeah, that already looks a lot better. Here we go. It says use the whole length. Make sure both sides of the cable are fully in the slot. Almost there. Okay, it's all the way in. And then it goes underneath the little cutout in the frame. Just like that. Carefully fold the LCD cables around the frame. And then they go underneath the wire bundle. So kind of pull the whole wire bundle out of the way. You lift up your cables, and then they kind of go underneath. They go in between the wire bundle and the frame. And that's what's going to keep everything nice and in place. And then there's one more zip tie hole inside the frame. So we'll put that in, and the LCD cable's kind of in the way. Let's see if they went around. It doesn't look like they went around it. It looks like they went under it. So do not trap your LCD ribbon cable with the zip tie. And then the cable bundle goes through the zip tie, and that's going to hold the ribbon cables in place. There we go. I'll trim this. Okay, good. We're done with that step. On to 20. Now we need to slide the zip tie through the holes on the Z axis. So this guy, so we're going to do the same thing we did on the right side, except now we're on the left side for the Z axis stepper. Except we're going to include the ribbon cable and the cable bundle. So on the, let's see, on the front side you'll have just the Z-axis cable. On the back side you'll have the ribbon cable, your cable bundle, and your Z-axis all together through the zip tie. So it's pulling double duty here. We pull the ribbon cable up through here. I'll put that in next. Lay that over the top, flat against the frame. And then all the cables from the power supply come up too. So I got all those wrangled in place. Now I can tighten it all. Okay, so that is done. Not too bad. That's it. Cables are organized. Let's connect them to the board. So I'm assuming that we leave it on its side. It doesn't really say. Let me reread. Yeah, I think we'll just leave them on the side, and then I'm gonna turn the whole printer facing towards me so I can see it easier. I don't know what's easier, having it on its side or having it on its feet. I think this might actually be easier. We'll find out. We can always flip it if this becomes a problem. So now we need another zip tie. So zip ties are our friends. And that goes through here. Just like that. And then I need the wires from the board, the heated bed. We're going to put those in, and you bend it. Let's see if I can get a view behind the printer. Or what if I do it kind of like this, and then I'll bend. I'll move this camera. Nope, that's not going to work. So I need a better camera setup here. I'm working with what I have, so we'll make do. I can tilt that down a little bit so you can see what I'm doing. So I'm taking this from the heated bed. Let me make sure these are underneath. I don't want to trap these in place in the cable bundle. And we're bending it up and over. It says take the nylon filament and slide it into the hole on the lower edge. Well, that's tough to see. Oh, I see it now. If you look at it, there's a little slot or a little hole at an angle for the filament, that black filament. And so the wires just go right in place. And the filament should fit right in there. Maybe with some gentle persuasion from our friend Mr. Needle Nose Pliers. I'm going to pull back the wrap. I don't know, it didn't say to cut the end. On every previous step that we've slid it into a hole, we've cut a sharp edge on the tip. I don't know if that would help. I just tried to put it in there and I had some trouble. So I'm looking at the pictures to try to get some reference. I think, what could it hurt? We'll give it a shot. We'll cut a little bit off, making sure we don't cut any of our cables. Kind of sharpen the tip a little bit. So I just cut a little bit, not like the others. Just a little bit of a chamfer. Just to make it easier to put in. There it goes. So that helped. Good. So we got that put in. Make sure that the cable wrap is inside the case, and then it gets zip tied. I'm going to try something here. Maybe this will work, maybe it won't. Okay, yeah, that works. So that's what it looks like. You've got the cable put in, and that little filament just slid in a hole right in there, and then we zip tied it around the back. So maybe I can just put my little webcam up on the power supply, and we'll see how that looks. Give you guys a better view of what I'm doing. Hey, that worked out pretty good. Okay. Well, we can make that one bigger too. We can spread that out, because the main view doesn't really matter right now. So we'll go back to the small view later. So far I'm really liking the OBS software. It's pretty neat. Okay, so now we're going to plug in our cables from our power supply. Please note there's a positive and negative. Always place the cable with the red stripe. The red stripe is positive. So that follows convention. So there's a pair, these two right here, that have the crimped ends. So the one with the red stripe right there, that is the positive. So if we look down here, there is, well, let's move the wires out of the way. If you look down here, there's the two terminals, and we're going to put the wires right in there. So we're going to need our screwdriver, and I'm going to get all these wires kind of out of the way. And so the first two are powered. Let me get my flashlight. I'm going to look in here and see what I can see. I can't see any text or anything, so I'm just going to go based off of what it says in the manual. So I'm going to loosen that one up. And loosen up the second one. A few turns. Oh, okay, this is from the power supply. Okay, and the heated bed. Okay, so we're going to take, it's not these two, these are from the heated bed. So we're going to forget those for now. Maybe I can bend them right through here like this. We need the cable bundle from the power supply. So there's two pairs. And I see now. It makes more sense. The one with the red stripe is positive, so we're going to see if we can get that in the first one, and it hooks in there just easy as can be. And the second one is all black, and he goes in the second terminal. You may have to kind of tilt it to get it in there. And then we're going to tighten these guys up, and you can put your hand behind the enclosure to keep it from flexing. So I like to tighten these until I feel resistance, and then I give it a nice extra quarter turn. So there's the first two and the second two. So terminal number 1 and number 3 are positive according to the instructions. So we've got to find the one with the red stripe. Okay, this is the one with the red stripe. These crimped connectors are nice. Let me go ahead and loosen up 3 and 4. So this one's positive, and it goes into terminal, I'm calling it terminal 3. I just made that up. It's the third from the frame. And then here's number 4. And you have to twist them so the little forks are kind of facing out. And then you can kind of angle it and wiggle it until it's all the way up in there. So I've got those 2 put in. And I'll tighten those. Most other boards do not have these terminal connections like this. They just have plugs, or they have little screw terminals. This is a better way to connect, in my opinion. You're not going to have any connection issues when these things start heating up and cooling down. This is a better, more secure way to fasten these. And then the last 2, these last 2 are from the heated bed, and those go in terminals, I guess that's 5 and 6. I'm just going to loosen these up a little bit. They're already loose, but I like to give myself plenty of room to work with. And then the red stripe is positive, so that one goes in 5. And then the other one goes in 6. So there we go. I'm going to push that one up so the forks clear the little plate or the washer behind the screw. And those are in there nice and tight. So that's step 23, done. And then there's another warning. Please note there's positive and a negative. The red stripe goes positive. It's crucial to have all the cables connected correctly. Let's recap. So the first cable is A positive, A negative, B positive, B negative, C positive, C negative. So I think that I've got them all in there correctly. Got red stripe, red stripe, red stripe. Okay. They're properly seated, so there's little forks in there, kind of like this, and then there's a plate. So the forks need to be on top of the plate. Please note that the following steps, you could void your warranty if you hook it up incorrectly. So that's understandable. So now we need to connect the stepper motors. So identify all the motors with the yellow bands and connect them to the board. So the X should already be connected. That was one of our first steps. I don't know how to rotate that. I don't think you can. And now the Y is next. Okay, there's the Y. And he's going to go right up here. Well, maybe it would be better. Yeah, we'll go ahead and put him in. So that's the Y. And you should feel it snap into place. So it's X, Y, and then there's 2 Z's. I'm not sure if it matters which one goes in which Z goes in which. So we'll give it a shot. If anybody knows, let me read. There's no comments, so we're just going to go with it. And we'll try to bundle all these. Oh, I put that one in front of the ribbon cable, so I'm going to pull it back out and get it behind the ribbon cable so it's not trapped. There we go. I'm going to try to push these all up. Well, this one's behind a power wire. Let me get that fixed so I can keep everything nice and organized. There we go. Got that one put in. Okay, good. All these are over in the corner. And I'm going to route the excess out the bottom. And it says they should all stack up here in the corner so they're not in the way. Kind of behind these brown 5-volt fuses or 5-amp fuses. Okay, good. That looks good. I like how that is. So I've got that done. Now we need step 26, power supply, power panic, and HB thermistor. Okay, that's what that black and white cable is. That's your power panic sensor, I'm assuming. Yes, power panic cable from the power supply, and connect it to the board. Let's see where that goes. It looks like it goes underneath. Oh, okay. It goes on this bottom row. It goes right here. That's your power panic port. So it goes right in here. Just like that. And then we need the thermistor, which is from the heated bed. And that's going to go right up top, right underneath the daughter board. So it's the top left. Okay, so that's done. So it says try to achieve similar cable management as the picture. So now we need to connect the extruder cable bundle. And it's going to go in the top up here. And I need to find, so I'm going to bring this around from the top. Find the nylon part, you'll need it. Prepare the cable bundle like in the second picture. Pay attention, single wrap. Okay, so what it's showing us is that this nylon filament needs to be sticking out a couple of wraps behind the rest of these guys, and it needs to stick out by itself. So we're going to unwrap it about, I would say, 2 to 3 turns, and then this one gets, we'll probably do 3 turns, and then we'll rewrap just the cable bundle and not the filament. Another 2 turns. So it should look something like this. So this should be sticking out. It's not perfect, but I think it may be sticking out a little bit too much. So I'm going to try again. And it looks like there's just one wrap difference in between them. Okay, I think that looks better. So this is what we're shooting for. Something like this. So there's the filament, there's one wrap in between them, and then the wire bundle comes out, and then there's a couple of extra wraps left over. So step one, we're going to insert it into this hole up here. Let me tilt it up so you can see. Up here, I think I'm going to go ahead and cut the edge, give it a little chamfer like I did in the other one, because that seemed to help a lot. Be careful while pushing the cables in. If you push too hard, you might break some of them. So yeah, some of these are fragile. So the filament goes in first. The nylon filament goes in first. So it's off to the side. I'll get that pushed in, and it just slides in nice and easy. And then you try to push all the cable into the little hole. So probably it's a good idea to just start off with a few at a time and just keep adding until you can get them all in. Okay, the wrap goes inside too. So I'm going to pull all these back out because it wants you to rewrap them once you get it in. So I guess I might just put that in first. So it wraps in, and now we've got this cable bundle. So it's almost all in. It's hanging up on this cable wrap, so I'm going to try to twist it out of the way. Which is easier said than done. Okay, that worked a little bit. I just twisted this out. Well, this is very fiddly. I recommend taking your time with this. Don't get in a hurry. There it goes. So now I just need to put the wrap through. Let's see. After all the cables are in, wrap the remaining spiral wrap. If you need to make more than 2 turns, carefully cut the wrap. So it says you just need to wrap it 2 more times. I think I'm going to trim some of mine off. I'll trim it about right there. Hopefully that was not too much. and then I'll wrap what's inside. That's about 2 wraps. There we go, it all pushed into place. It's nice and flush. This door is going to be able to close without pinching any of the cables. I've got a couple of wraps on the inside. Looks good. So now there's a zip tie that's supposed to go around here. So I think that's really cool. This is a good use of 3D printing. Internal zip tie guides. So now I need to connect all the cables we just put in to the board, which is kind of like Legos. We're just plug and play. Shouldn't be too hard. So we need to connect the extruder. So let's find that first. I'm going to put it behind all of these dudes. And he goes over here in the corner with his friends. Well, it's hard to see. They always like to get in your way. There it goes. I heard it click. Extruder is done. Now we need the left hot end fan, which is the black cable. I think it's this one. Let me double check. Yeah. Oh no, it's not that one. It's this one without the yellow on it. And that one goes if you pull all these up, it goes just below here. So there's one with the green on it. It goes just below. I know that's hard to see because there's not much light. There it goes, I heard it click. And then what's next? The front print fan. So that's the one that is red, yellow, and black. And he goes right next to his friend. Just like that. And then we have the filament sensor cable, which is this one that's red, white, and blue, and black. It goes, let me see. use the lower row of pins below the daughter board, and it looks like the empty slot, there's one empty connector and it faces the inside. So in order from left to right, it should be the white, blue, black, and red wires. So the red wire should be facing the edge of the enclosure. Then we have the extruder motor, which is, where did he go to? Did we already plug that one in? Oh, I plugged in the extruder motor, but I did not plug in the extruder heater, which is this guy. It's the big one with the silicon wires, and it goes, I'm going to push it down through all these cables because it kind of goes at the bottom, right underneath the fans. Just like that. Okay. Now we need the pin to probe, and it goes up top right above the fan. I heard it click. That's good. And then, oh no, that was the thermistor. Sorry. That was the thermistor, and now the pin to probe goes on the side right above the daughter board. There we go. We're all plugged in. Now we need to connect the LCD cables. So the one with the one stripe goes, let's see, let's find out. Got the one with the, there's one stripe on there. That's tough to see. There's one stripe, and it goes on the outside. So this might actually be easier to connect with the daughter board. So it goes on the outside, and then the one with the two stripes, which is orange, goes on the inside. The pink stripe on the LCD, okay, the pink stripe should be facing up. So good, I did that correctly. View all the connections, make sure everything is put together correctly. I think I did that. And then finalize the rainbow cover. Man, that's a lot of wires to put in there. Hopefully this thing will close. We might have to route some of these rather creatively. I think I pulled them in too much. Or there's too much. I don't know if there's going to be enough slack. Let's see. Yeah, I think we'll be okay. I think I have plenty of slack. Oops, just noticed something I did wrong. The LCD cables I've wrapped around the heated bed, so those need to go on the inside here. I'll do one at a time so I don't forget which one is plugged into which. You just wiggle them back and forth to get them loose. Okay. Yeah, it doesn't look like anything else is behind that. And I think that we can maybe fold some of these down and fold some of them up. Just as long as nothing is in the way, I think we'll be okay. I think you just try to close it the best you can. Okay, everything looks good. Then you take the M3x40 screw, close the rainbow door cover, make sure that nothing's pinched, and tighten it. So I'm holding it closed with my hand. Oh, and I've lost the... Oh no, that's right. Let me make sure. Yep, nut is still in there. Make sure none of the wires are pinched, so I'm just going to push this wire back inside. And we're all good. I'm going to come in from the back side, tighten it up very gently. Okay, all done. Mounting the vibration feet, I've already done that. Mounting the spool holder. It says hook it from the top first. Which side is the front? The front. Let's go back to my other view. We're kind of done with this view, and I'll move my webcam back where it was. Okay, and I'll try to move this in the frame so you guys can see what's going on too. I'll do a little bit more organizing, get everything out of the way. That wasn't too bad at all. I'll move this up so you guys can see it. Okay, and then this is the spool holder. There we go. Let the tooth sit on the frame and then press in the direction of the arrows, so pushing backwards. So you kind of place it down like that, and then you push backwards. And it says it should snap into place. I feel kind of uneasy doing this. It says you just pull backwards. Ooh, there it goes. It snapped into place. And it's really firm. I like that. Yep. It says spool holders may be a different design than the one in the picture, but this one's really looks really nice. They even have some speed holes cut in there. Congratulations, you just assembled the printer. So we're almost there. We just need to finish Chapter 9, the pre-flight check. Okay. So we need to do the PINDA adjustment. Ensure the printer is turned off and not plugged in. Move the extruder manually all the way to the left. So that is this way. All the way to the left. By rotating both threaded rods at the same time, so we're going to rotate these threaded rods. We're going to lower the z-axis until we reach the heated bed. So make sure that you kind of do it equally. Okay, I'm going to flip this whole thing around towards me so I can see what I'm doing. And then maybe I'll try to find another view so you guys can see what is going on here. I really don't have a stand or anything. Maybe I'll put it on my iPad. That'll work. I'll use my iPad as a stand. And point it over here. Okay, cool. Maybe you can see a little bit, maybe you can't. But now I can barely read what I'm doing. Maybe that wasn't a good idea. So we're going to lower this all the way down, making sure we're using both hands equally. So the iPad is not a very good camera stand. That went together fairly painlessly. Wasn't too bad. So I'm going to get close Okay. So that's close enough for me. If you can see that, it's fairly close down there. Okay. Take my iPad back. And then it says to make sure everything's level, and then get the nozzle very close to the bed. Move the extruder carefully all the way out to the right. Make sure that the nozzle is not scratching the print surface. It says move the extruder to the center. So let me make sure that I've got this put together like they want me to. Yep, it's nearly touching there. Okay. Move to the center. I'm going to push the Y carriage back. I'm going to move it to the center. Making sure that I'm not scratching the bed. And then get a zip tie. Use the middle part of the zip tie, not the tip. Release the screw holding the pin to sensor and gently push the sensor against it and then tighten it back up. Do not use glue to fix the probe in place. So the pinda is just barely, it's almost even with the fan. It's just a little bit above the nozzle. So I've got to squat down again to do this. And I've got to find the right Allen wrench to be able to loosen this guy up. Okay, mine was too high. So I'm going to loosen this guy up. And try to push him down without damaging anything. Maybe I'll loosen it up a little bit more. It really doesn't want to move. Well, I'll loosen it up a whole lot and see what happens. There he goes. He was just, I think one of the threads was stuck. I've got to use a flashlight for this because I can't really see. Okay, I've got it pushed down in there. I feel like that's sufficient. I'll tighten this guy back up. And it says to check your Prusa before printing. The video will be available soon. Quick guide for first prints, printable models. Congratulations, you should be able to print now. Okay, great. I'm going to stop the stream, get them all plugged in and connected, and do some calibrations. And I appreciate everybody who watched. We'll try to do some more videos here in the near future. I'm sure there's plenty of things that I'm going to want to test out and test all the features that have been advertised on this guy. If you guys have any questions or anything you want me to print, feel free to leave a comment. And again, I appreciate everybody that watched. So have a good night.